Hi guys, good morning. Or GN.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, I'm super curious to hear about everyone's experiences working with low code and no code and Web3. I've been doing this for a little bit now, and it'll be good to compare notes and share experiences. I'm just looking forward to this one.
Exactly. By the way, I like your profile picture. I've been talking to my boss about it, so we love the movie as well. That was one of the discussions of ours.
Awesome.
Yeah. So guys, before we start, would you like to share something about your project, some interesting insights, something like that? Please go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I'll get us started. So, hello everyone. My name is Ben Schiller, and I'm working on a project called Verb.Markets. Verb.Markets. And we're building the first marketplace built for Bitmap. And Bitmap is the land in the Bitcoin metaverse. So hopefully one day we actually do have a functioning metaverse. And the thesis is, if we're actually going to have a metaverse, what's the best place to build it on? And of course, the answer to that is Bitcoin, for all the reasons that we like Bitcoin. The land itself in Bitcoin is the actual Bitcoin block, and each of the Bitcoin blocks can be subdivided just like in regular real estate. So the first tool that we built is to make it easy for anyone, particularly Bitcoin NFT communities and meme coins, to be able to take one piece of land and subdivide it, so that way all of the members in their community can have a shared space in the Bitcoin metaverse. And to do that, personally, I built it all. I coded it all, but with the help of multiple AI usage. So I'm looking forward to sharing that experience. And just for fun, on the side, I make Solana trading bots, which I also use AI for as well. So looking forward to sharing that experience and hearing yours as well.
So you basically work with everything AI, like from point A to point B.
Yeah.
You rely heavily on
Top
AI.
to bottom. Yeah. I was just gonna say, if AI isn't at the center of everything that you're doing, you're already dead. That's how much of a believer I am, for sure.
Oh, that's great. So when we have a different AMA for AI, I would be like honored to have you around again. We'll talk about it separately later.
Sweet.
Yeah. Thomas, if I can call you Tom.
Yeah, of course. Tom. Again, pleasure to be here, everyone. Again, a lot about close friends and partners speaking on this AMA, so I'll give a little introduction. My name is Thomas. I'm the co-founder of Nadmah. Very simply, we're an incubator and consultancy firm. We focus fundamentally on building out the core principles of projects when it comes to, of course, the development side, when it comes to developing tokenomics and token economies, when it comes to developing financials, go-to-market strategies, anything that can basically take a project from a concept to post-market launch. That includes everything from the fundraise, from the marketing, and of course ensuring that all of that is integrated with the product as effectively as possible. So, this topic is very within our grasp when we're working with our projects to ensure that, their product is as effective as possible. And now that's become a much more interesting topic when it comes to the AI space. Of course, it's making it the low code and no code for developers much easier to access. Even when it comes to, the heavy coding side, we've seen a lot of our developers, a lot of our projects turning to AI in order to maybe help develop or fully develop the core internals of their projects. So yeah, I'm very interested to see all of the insights today, and to also share some of the knowledge that we have, maybe from a different perspective as a consultant of these projects rather than a founder, let's say.
Yeah, totally good. Thank you, Tom. Abhishek, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me, Nadmah. And again, nice to meet you, Thomas. And Ben, I think we also met somewhere in one of the blockchain. Yeah, so meeting people again. I'm a founder at Solysian Tech as a consultancy and blockchain thing. But at the same time, I'm also building two platforms, which is mostly focused on creative economy. One is purely providing easy access and simplifying access to AI tools and technologies to creators. Because I see, after talking to lots of creators, that they are like kind of confused and it's become more complicated to them. as more and more models and agents and more AI tools are coming, so they're like sometimes get confused. So trying to fix those problems with my platform, so they will get like easy access. You can right now I'm calling it like generative access layer, and there is another platform I'm building for monetizing of any act of creation on a blockchain. So right now building on Beta chain. So right now both the project is in stealth mode, but I think both this project I'm trying to utilize two parts, two fundamental problem. One, easy access of AI to the creators, and once they create something like act of, it can be a meme, it can be like songs and lyrics, then they need to figure it out the right way of monetizing, getting royalties, and trying to consider memes as a different perspective. Like in Web3 crypto, we all know like memes has its own cultural effects, but in Web2 world, memes are there, but they don't have any monetizing kind of system and thought process. So that's something I'm also trying to incorporate into it. So yeah, I think this low code no code might be centered around AI, because one of the AI agent I'm working with, Alija OS, for this same platform, where I see like once you build a good AI agent, it's like a simple text, and then instead the no code low code previously was a drag and drop. Now it's a pure natural language, your native language, you write, you talk, and the app is there. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So let Fendi join whenever he can, because the internet is acting out at his end. We should start. So welcome everyone. We have Thomas here from Nadmah, then Abhishek from Solysian Tech, Fendi, who is yet to join from TGC. They're building the next billion-dollar gaming empire. He's the communication and strategist relations specialist. Then we have Ben Schiller, who is not the Schiller, the founder of the Verb.Markets, and I like his profile again. Then we have Hardik Gajera, the head of research. He is my go-to person in Dojima actually whenever I have any doubt, whether it is about AI, low-code, no-code, or the best thing, ZK proofs. He is the king of ZK proof as far as I know. Like the time that I have been in Web3 is the king for it. So I'll ask him to introduce himself, like whatever he can say about it as well. So Hardik, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone. So I'm Hardik Gajera, and I am head of research at Dojima Foundation. And at Dojima Foundation, we are building a suitable ecosystem to cater cross-chain L1 transaction, and there we have multiple parts like builder marketplace, Rhino network, omni sequencers, and proof networks. And so low code, no code will be kind of a part of what we are planning to do with the builder marketplace, where we will have a platform which will be suitable for not only developer but normal user as well, build their app efficiently. I think so far that's it.
Thank you. Regarding me, I'm heading the marketing for Dojima. I ventured into the Web3 space this last year, and before that, I have been working with cybersecurity, cloud computing. Basically, it was tech, but it was not as vast as Web3. So that is where I heard about low code, and we were marketing low code in cloud compute. So I had a little bit of knowledge about it back then. Now that I'm seeing for the past 7 or 8 months, people are talking about low code, no code in Web3 and how things can be built with just drag and drop. And the same thing we're trying to do for builder marketplace. That is basically for everyone who wants to build and have zero knowledge on coding and just want to drag and drop and get things started, build apps on it, do whatever they want. And we are an omni-chain solution, as Hardik said. We are trying to integrate Web3 into a single tier, and then we're going to revolutionize it. So that is what I would like to introduce myself as. And now we can move forward to questions. Hope everything is going good. So the first question is, how do you see low-code, no-code in Web3? What exactly is low-code, no-code in Web3? We know the obvious answers, but I would like to have your perspective on all of yours. Please go ahead, Ben. You can begin.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll share a little bit deeper about how we're integrating this into our workflows. So it's actually kind of multi-layered. The first is really just the application itself, and to give you a sense of what it does. I'll go back to the explanation of the Bitcoin metaverse and every piece of land being a Bitcoin block. Since everything is built on the Bitcoin block, you can imagine every block has different characteristics. So different numbers of transactions, different volume in terms of how many Bitcoins were transacted and on and on. So there's so many different data points within a Bitcoin block. For the metaverse, the first level of importance is how many transactions, because every transaction can be what's called a parcel. So that can be its own separate piece of land. And the way that you can subdivide these parcels is by making a Bitcoin inscription. And I know we're getting off into the weeds here a little bit, but it's a technical audience, so I'll give me as much rope as you can allow. And to be able to basically make one of these individual pieces of land, you need to write it to the Bitcoin blockchain, which is what Bitcoin ordinals are, inscriptions on the Bitcoin blockchain. So just me explaining that, you can kind of hear how complicated this can be. And what we've done is used a bunch of different APIs to simplify what would be a relatively complicated raw Bitcoin scripting transaction, and made it into just a couple of clicks for the user. So from our end, what we're doing is integrating multiple APIs to call data. We're using a different API to sort of stitch all the data together into a Bitcoin transaction, and then run it through a different API to inscribe that, to write that into the Bitcoin blockchain. So at the end of this entire sequence, the user gets back their pieces of land as they would expect. So a little bit of background on myself. So I'll say that I'm not a developer with an asterisk or with a caveat next to it. I've never actually worked as a professional developer, but I live in Dubai now. I moved here from Los Angeles about a year ago. Worked in the entertainment industry, but in the entertainment industry, when you're doing things like 3D graphics and editing and motion graphics, all that sorts of stuff. On the high end, at some point, you're using some sort of scripting, right? So if you're, let's say, for example, if you're making an effect of fire, you need the wind to blow in a certain way to give you a certain effect. You're basically scripting all the physics that go into that. So I've been coding a lot, and I'm originally from Silicon Valley. So literally born and raised in Silicon Valley. So I know a lot of people have heard of that and have their vision of that. But just to give you a sense of the physical geography, if you're in San Jose, California, which is where I grew up, looking north to San Francisco, you're in the hills in San Jose. To the left is Cupertino, which is Apple. To the right is Mountain View, which is Google. A little bit further up to the right, at the base of the Dumbarton Bridge at Menlo Park, that's Facebook. Across the 101 freeway is Palo Alto, which is Stanford University. Sand Hill Road, every VC you could think of, Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia, all the way up Intel, Oracle, Cisco, NVIDIA, and on and on and on. So I've literally been coding since before I could ride a bicycle. So as I wanted to make this app, I hadn't done any blockchain development, but I had a good sense of what I wanted to do. And, I was talking to people, and it was like, this is going to be difficult. It's going to take this much time. It's going to take this much money. And in my head, like, this is relatively simple. It's not easy, but I've got a clear picture. And I was just like, you know what? I keep hearing about all these AI things. Maybe this can help me, kind of put this all together. And I swear to you, like, the core inscription part took maybe like 35 minutes to do this thing that people were telling me is going to take, weeks and months and tens of thousands of dollars. And it was like literally half an hour. But of course, I'm sure we'll get into it. It's like, 80-20, do the really fast part, and then the real work starts to get it to actually work. But the fact that I could put that together so quickly was just like, okay, we're off to the races from there. So yeah, it's just a complete game changer. As long as you don't necessarily have to be a coder, I think you need to know how code works, because obviously these tools aren't angels. They screw up a lot. They get a lot wrong. But if you can use this as kind of like a mech suit, it's definitely a force multiplier for you.
Yeah, the intent works when you want to work around with low code, no code. That's actually true. So I would like Tom to add something to it and continue with Tom.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. Again, we hosted an event in Dubai about a week ago, which was focused purely on the new speculative hype around these AI agents, right? As a consultancy firm, we face a lot of interesting narratives when it comes to blockchain. Of course, there was the AI narrative, more than 8 months ago that came around, which was just generally the hype that came from AI, not only in Web 2, but also in the Web 3 space. And that was only built upon when these AI agents started emerging. For some people, it was as simple as like drag and drop, copy the basic code that people have used to build these bots, and then evolve it. It was also coming from the Telegram bots that people were creating to perform, simple trading tasks, to work as almost like secretaries as well in order to, perform simple tasks. But then it started evolving. It started to get to where you could create tokens, you could create meme coins, NFTs, dApps, DAOs with little to even no coding knowledge behind the actual AI that was being created. Now, again, to counter that, of course, AI needs data fed into it in order for it to create anything. So the whole kind of concept of Web3, getting phased out in terms of developers by these AI agents and by this no-code concept is not true at all in sense. Because again, there will always be developers that have to push the new data, that have to push the new barriers for these, let's say, these agents, these bots, because otherwise there would be no progression, right? They would be only developing based off the mistakes that these bots make or their successes, which usually, takes quite a few iterations in order for them to get anything through. So yeah, I find it quite interesting. Again, a lot of our portfolio companies at the moment, even if they're like dating apps, games, AI agent marketplaces, they're all developing AI agents, and some of them aren't even using their own developers anymore. So it's very interesting to see these automated workflows and the tools that are being used in the space at the moment. And I think, for us, it's less about like what can be developed, but more about how. Because again, like initially the quality of these tokens, the quality of these dApps that were being launched by these AI agents were very low. There was not much depth to them. It was basically just a skeletal structure that people could look at and say, oh, look, this token was launched by AI. This token required me to do 0 effort, 0 coding, no SAFs. But at the end of the day, there is no substance behind that. And really, one of the interesting things today that I think we'll cover as well is, the importance of having good developers to feed into these bots, to feed into the quote-unquote no-code AI and see, truly how that will evolve over time as well.
True. Couldn't agree more. There is one thing that you mentioned that even with all the AI and low-code, no-code, developers are a must. So I would like to point that out. And could you explain it a little better? Because I know where that statement came from. And I want you to tell me, like, why is it that you are suggesting the same? Because even with all the AI tools in the world, if you don't know how to manage it or how to work through it, you cannot progress. That is the exact thing that you said. Could you please enlighten a little bit more on that?
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat the question? I think you just cut out on me.
Okay, so the thing is, you talked about even if there are low-code, no-codes, AI agents and everything in play, you still require developers to manage things, to get things sorted, to code, so that the mistakes that are happening with some tokens, some dApps, it won't continue. I would like to take your take on that. Exactly, your perspective.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. To be honest, obviously this is a very new topic that people are facing. So I think it's different for all developers and it's different for all projects based on, what they are creating. But overall, there has to be some kind of framework, right? I like referring to what people call guardrails, right? Which is allowing the AI to act within a certain limit of itself, right? If there was AI models and AI agents that were just put out there without any guardrails, then it would be very easy for people to do whatever they want with that AI, right? There would be no limits to what it would code. There would be no limits to what it would learn. And that is when it becomes very malicious towards projects. I've seen it before. We had quite a few projects, quite a few agents that were, let's say, not implemented correctly when they had the guardrails up. And that led to not only a lot of damage in terms of reputation, but also, it made the technology unrecoverable from where they left it. So they weren't able to actually use the technology that they had anymore. So I think it's, the developers are not only there, number one, to create and to ensure that this tech, doesn't get out of hand, but they're also there to guide it, right? Like to guide it with the correct data, to guide it with the correct guardrails, and to push it to the next level. Because again, AI systems are extremely, extremely intelligent only because of the people that develop them, right? It's not like these are purely intelligent systems that have just come out of nowhere. As we know, like ChatGPT, all these AI projects, they're all based on models that took, ages, tens and tens of years to develop in terms of the data and information that falls into them. So yeah, it's a long, lengthy process, I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Abhishek, would you start?
Yeah, I can take it forward. I think the OSS group put a very good point about necessary of developers. The way I see this thing is there are two people. Like we can think of it as a tire, like the actual user of the no-code and low-code platforms. And second is like what I see, the platforms that enable the no-code based application development, where we definitely need developers. Like if someone is creating an AI agent, there is a group of developers, definitely they're training it, they're making its workflow. And AI agent can also go wrong if the workflow is not written properly. So the most important thing from the AI agent point of view, like the workflow that it is doing, like from where it gets, let's say user is giving an input to create a vault, DeFi vault on Ethereum or maybe a particular, let's say Rushing for a USDC and any kind of a stable coin. And let's say a simple example is like someone wants to create a stable box which can have multiple stable coin, USDC, USD, and any other. And there is an AI agent, and you just give a command. Then what this AI agent do internally? Like that's just people is kind of calling it dev AI. So there's fall into that category. But now how exactly the workflow is established and risk management is done in the AI agent code base. Like AI agent will go to the OpenAI or DeepSeek models, fetch some data, then go to this is smart contract, fetch some data. So what is all that process? If that process is very well defined and properly audited, then I think this can be a very game changing for the end user point of view. End user means like those who are like product, they don't know coding, but they have the idea, okay, this vault can work and this kind of DAO can be created, without knowing anything about that. So there is definitely a gap between like how that product guys come to know about what AI agent actually does behind the scene, right? So that's I think the biggest gap we need to fulfill. So they need to, so there maybe some auditors, AI agent auditor. I haven't seen any guys are doing auditing of the AI agent code base and things, because things are like pretty much proprietary. So this is where I think a new gap is coming that needs to be fulfilled on chain.
Yeah, there is one thing with Abhishek's point that I agree with. So in the past 7 or 8 days, there have been a few announcements where Web3 vendors like Carve and I forgot the name, like they're integrating DeepSeek into their data framework. I don't know, like whether they want to, they want to evolve into becoming much more self-aware or build economic active entities. I don't know. Like I was covering an article for it, and then that is something that came around. I don't know how to understand it, Ben and Tom. Like, how does it work? Like, how does it benefit us as Web3, like what brothers or Web3 companies, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. But that's one of the questions that I have, because recently, like the news was around 12 to 15 hours ago, and I read it. That's one of the questions that I had. So yeah, would you like to take it forward, each of you?
Yeah, I don't know specifically about the application that you're talking about precisely, but in general, though, I think one of the things that that is just always kind of a challenge is this, the idea of security, and it's like it's an ever evolving thing, which to me as a trader, it's also that it's the same problem with a different application, right? You're constantly dealing with a world that's shifting, and what was safe one day, after a week, there can be a new exploit, and all of a sudden, everything that you've been doing up to this point has been invalidated, right? So you have to just constantly be adjusting. So if you can have these, when we're talking about a model like DeepSeek that can give you so much power at a relative cost, that means you can have these applications that are basically always running. And as an true artificial intelligence, they're evolving, right? So if you treat them like organisms because they're in an organic environment, an environment that's always changing, whether that's the security environment or a trading environment that's just so dynamic, to be able to put something that has the capacity to, as you were alluding to before, to input information, but also process that, learn from it, and then be able to give actionable intelligence outward, whether that's in a security model or as a trader, to say, hey, your thesis has changed because of this data point, in a way that, and this is the thing that's kind of just fun and nerdy and exciting to me, in a way that just takes in so much information that you as an individual human being just simply do not have the capacity to understand, right? It's just like, that just blows my mind that all of a sudden, like, everyone has this capacity now. So that's the fun part. It's the challenging part. And that's the opportunity. If you can get these things to work, especially while so many programmers are still like, oh yeah, AI, I kind of play around with it a little bit on the weekends. And it's like, if you can actually go out and solve some of these problems that you're talking about, man, the opportunity is wide open.
Understood. Hardik, bhai, your turn. Come on.
Yeah, it is true that AI agent is like game changers in Web3 development space. At the same time, there is a concern about the possible vulnerability as well. Right? So these low-code, no-code tools need to be properly audited, as mentioned by Abhishek. And if the auditing comes into the picture, then it will be more adaptable in the Web3 development space.
Yeah, he's a man of very less words, as you people can hear. So yeah. So on to the next question. How can low-code, no-code help non-developers build on blockchain? We have covered it, but I would like to ask you whether, for instance, let's say some entrepreneur is trying to build something and they don't have the much of a coding knowledge, or some businesses want to get on the bandwagon because it is all trendy, and how can they start building on blockchain with no-code, low-code? Tom?
Yeah, I think that's a very wide scoping question. Obviously, again, in order for someone to come into Web3 and start developing, I don't think it's a huge barrier to entry, especially now. Number one, because I've also seen a lot of educational tools that people can use within the AI space. For example, if you want to, number one, learn about how to make SAFs, how to make dApps, there are actually educational tools that you can just ask questions. So if you want to get knowledge, if you want to expand your base, learn certain coding languages, that's very easy. So I think there's no barrier at all there. And then of course, in terms of brute force and assistance, there is more than enough AI agents and assistants that can help you to either fully develop it, show you how to develop it, or kind of work as your guide rail to show you maybe a better way or how it would be done in Web3. So I think that's it's very intuitive for someone with either no coding experience or coding experience in a traditional sense to come in and kind of learn those concepts, learn how to integrate it, learn how to work with the technologies that have been put in place by all these amazing coders and developers. And yeah, I'd say honestly, the only barrier that's really created there is knowledge. Aside from that, if you're willing to learn and you're willing to implement that, then anyone can do that. And we have examples of this as well, right? Within our cohorts, we have 3 projects at the moment that are very successfully traditional, but have no knowledge of how to make a token, how to make SAFs, how to work with Web3 investors, nothing like this. So they came in, they developed an AI agent as part of their educational platforms, and they went in and basically after a month, they can, issue their SAFs. They can work with developers in Web3, communicate effectively with them, and even produce like documents for their developers to integrate new features when it comes to the Web3 side. So it's a very ample space. And I think it's, more than ever, it's very inviting for people that are interested in coming into it.
Yeah, and if I could just briefly follow up on that, I think one of the things that you mentioned is just the availability of resources. In the last week, I saw that Google is offering like a multi-week AI class from top to bottom, from literally starting at nothing to training models. NVIDIA has the same. Hugging Face, which is one of the open source platforms, has a great series of tutorials to get you started. I literally went there and made a RAG retrieval augmented generation, which basically allows you to create a mini brain for whatever specialized topic it is to work on top of one of the broader LLMs. I did that in like a few hours, which like 3 months ago, that would have been like a Cambridge or Harvard-led, MIT-led team. Now it's just so commoditized down to something where you could, on a Saturday morning, you can figure it out. So, so many resources available to you. And basically every model itself has some form or some output where you can get a certain amount of compute for free. Once again, whether that's through an open source like Hugging Face or Open Router, which gives you a certain amount of free usage. You can go directly to the websites. Obviously, OpenAI has a free level. Pretty much everyone does. So like you were saying, really the limitation is how much do you want it? Because there's so much that's available. All you have to do is just get up and go for it, really.
Now that we're talking about this security thing, like the auditing needs to be done, which DeFi protocols require the most. So most of the low-code, no-code tools do not provide it. So how can we go beyond it, like fix it if we are using low-code, no-code to build DeFi and the protocols are in place? So I don't know, like, could you please take it forward, Abhishek?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question and very good problem right now we are going to face and still facing, especially with dev AI related stuff where finance related like tokens are there. For creative economy, this couldn't be a much problem because that workflow is different. But especially in this kind of problem where like there is a vault involved, then what is especially in like if we say how AI agent work, most of the AI agents like in Ariza, they have a metadata, and then metadata is to be supposed to be proprietary to the person, because if they release their metadata, then it's open for everyone. Like that's their unique product USP. So one thing right now I'm not sure like how to protect like audit this kind of metadata related issue, but definitely one thing we can audit is the workflow of the AI agent. Once there is a metadata, a character is defined, then what this AI agent actually going to do, where it is going to, like which smart contract it is touching, and from where it is like taking data, like from Oracle. Maybe there's a AI agent is fetching a data from CoinGecko for the prices, Oracle prices. So those kind of stuff we I think definitely are doable, like auditable. So we have to like see 2 clear points, which part of the code can be audited and should be audited, and which part cannot be audited. So and if there is a good team and who has built a good metadata of the AI agent, then definitely it comes to there should be an internal audit, and then there is a trust factor there for that. But the workflows definitely can be audited, and it should be there.
Understood. I pointed out this question because Tom was talking about it. Like even if you have so many AI agents, low-code, no-code tools in place, there is a deep need of security as well, because without security, the entire essence of blockchain fails miserably. So that's what it is. That's the reason
I'll pinpoint one more point in it, which is specifically for DeFi. previously in like history, we have seen most of the biggest problem came because of the Oracle misbehaves and price manipulation happened in the Oracle. So this is where I think code has to be audited properly, like how the AI agent is fetching the Oracle data prices and how it basically what's the risk management factor is handling, how it's handling the immediate search. Let's say within 1 second, if there is a price got like 3 times, 5 times, then definitely there might be some issue. So those kind of checks should be there in the AI agent code itself. So how it is handling those kind of edge cases. So that's, I think, critical factor of the auditing process we should be aware of. Now before you start using those kind of def AI agents.
True. It goes to Hardik again. Any inputs on this, Hardik?
Yes, true. So AI agents are, again, auditing AI agents completely is definitely going to be complex. But if we look at from the exploitation point of view, then like smart contract and bridges are, if there is some kind of vulnerability there, then it will be definitely exploited. And if someone is using some templates to create contracts or create the bridges, then we definitely need those template contracts or bridges audited, and this can be doable. I think OpenJamplin is providing audited smart contract template for anyone to build on top of that. So similarly, similar kind of low-code tools can be audited and provided to the developer.
Got it. So the education behind the scenes is the important thing when it comes to building something on low-code, no-code platform, keeping the security in check. I think that is the biggest takeaway we can have from this question. I hope, Ben, Tom. So on to the next question. Currently, as for 2025 February, what are the biggest challenges that you're looking at for low-code, no-code adoption in Web3?
Yeah, sure. I think where we're at right now is, we've just released this MVP literally like last week. So the excitement of getting to that plateau stage, and of course the next stage, which is growing the product, growing the team. And I think that's just from a builder side of things, that's one of the challenges, because having built this thing myself using AI, and like I said, just seeing the potential applications, both in how we build things, as well as the AI itself in the product, even through things like, social media and being able to, translate our material into so many different languages and so many different presentations, and having that as a force multiplier as well, training RAG models for our specific subset of blockchain information to help us create content. All the different ways that AI blends in. And now it's like, okay, how do I work with people potentially who don't use AI, right? So it's like, how do you expand your team? How do you create a team that really maximizes the tools that are available? So that's one of the challenges that I'm knee deep in, which is, okay, trying to find people that may not necessarily have been so deep in it so far, but are at least open-minded enough, have a different bit of a type of mind, because it's more, when you start to use AI tools, it's much more modular, it's much more problem solving than, let's say, just sitting down and writing 100 lines of code from scratch. So it's an interesting challenge, and I'm curious to see how it plays out for sure.
Awesome. Abhishek, challenges in AI when it comes to low-code, no-code adaptation in Web.
Yeah, challenges on personal side, like what I face challenges.
Yeah, your perspective, like what you have faced, what you're going through, what you think will come up in the recent days is gold.
Yeah, definitely. One of the biggest challenges recently I faced on low-code, no-code side is selecting the right platform. I'll give you one example. I had to choose between Elijah, LangChain, and other related models. So, platform, sorry. So, finally, I choose Elijah because their developers are constantly building it properly. But other platforms which exist in like Crew and LangChain, LangGraph, those are also very good. So, selecting a right platform to build your AI agent. It's definitely it really depends on person to person what they're building. And if you're completely new, then you will end up in maybe selecting a wrong platform. Maybe Crew is not for you. Maybe LangChain is not for you. For me, Elijah was the easy way. Because I was building in Web3, so it's easy to like integrate in Web3 and easy to fork the code if I need to do some changes. Otherwise, at some point of time, as these platforms are new, you might need to fork their platform itself, do more and more integration based on what you think your product needs. So I think this is the challenge, and this is also where knowledge comes into picture, what you want to build and what is right. So that's, I think, biggest challenge, and that challenge sometimes is we're unaware of that's the challenge. So that's the biggest challenge that I will say.
Right. So whenever you are building something on low code, no code, your intent needs to be rock solid to move forward, and that is the exact pinpoint that we are trying to penetrate in Web3 to build a marketplace. Because if your intent is not clear, you do not know what you want and what you're going to build once it is done, whether it will work or not, whether it will break or whether it will backfire on you. So yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point of it. Thank you. Tom, please.
Yeah, sorry, my Wi-Fi is now back on. So from my perspective, again, obviously as a non-developer, I think it's always interesting, like for, let's say, like an outsider's perspective in terms of like the issues faced. Obviously one of them being before, of course, is the guide rails, as I mentioned. Again, we've seen a lot of problems with projects facing vulnerability issues due to that. We've seen a lot of projects also facing just purely security related threats, as you guys all mentioned before. With the code audits as well, that's something that needs to be implemented as soon as possible, not only for the safety of the data that's being contained within these agents, but also for the security of the projects and the people within them. I think additional to that, of course, data security is a huge thing that I think has been violated a lot of times by some of these agents, at least from what I've seen. We had one project that was basically doing KYC and KYB on like random people. They did it on myself, and it was able to find like data on me from like more than 15 years ago. So it's it's pretty creepy what they're able to access. So that's why I think definitely the security and accessibility of data is the main concern. And then it's all about like the sharing side, right? I think it's, again, we're building this space as an ecosystem. So sharing network, sharing code, sharing tools, that is just going to better it. And something I mentioned on a panel a while ago as well was pretty much when it comes to AI, it gets better the more that it's pushed, right? The more mistakes that it makes, the more vulnerabilities that are found, the more it improves. And that goes for the same with projects and founders. So I think, if people are blocking all of the vulnerabilities and they're, not making mistakes, the code is perfect, everything is running well, then I think that would be the biggest problem, because that would mean there would be no more innovation in this, and nothing else that we would see where the products would keep getting better and better. So I think, with the innovation that's been coming to this space, it's been getting so strong. And that's something that I really hope to see go into the future, of course, along with the security side to support it as well.
Yeah. There is one thing that even I have experienced, that low code, no code is not powerful enough, or it doesn't have the prowess to handle complicated apps. Like the flexibility is limited. I think that is going to be another challenge that we have to overcome. I think Ben, Tom, anyone wants to speak about it?
Yeah, I think it just depends on how what your development path is. I mean, I don't really see that there's a limitation if you're working within the constraints of the building process. And by that, I mean, you can break things down into individual modules. So the most complicated thing can be, rather than looking at it as a giant complicated thing, you look at it as, okay, here's 100 relatively simple modules. So if you can kind of go in a very, systematic way, you can definitely build some pretty insane, complicated things. So I don't think it's necessarily a limitation of the process itself. I think it's more a limitation in how you go about implementing the process. So you certainly wouldn't want to start by going, and I think this is the way sort of people romanticize it. It's like, oh, I just tell it to build this blah, 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 blah. And it just does that. And that's not really how it works. It's like, okay, take this tiny little step, show me that it works. Great. Now let's take one more little step to show me that it works. And if you continue to do that, then you can build some pretty amazing things for sure.
Right. Hardik?
Yes, right. So definitely low code, no code will be more adaptable in the sense that where you can build something using the building blocks like module stuff. So it on its own it might not be able to do the complex development, but if you know the flow, if you know your system, if you know what module or which building blocks you need to use, then you can definitely create.
Yeah, and one of the fun things that I do, and to kind of follow up what you're saying, Hardik, is so my primary tool is Cursor and Claude. So that's like the main thing using the Composer window. And every so often I'll just run into a block where it's like it's just not getting what I'm trying to do. So I'll go to the other side of the app and have a continue.dev plugin, which I'll load, let's say, a Quinn coder model. So I'll basically say, hey, Quinn, look at what Claude did, and this is why it's not working. And then Quinn will come up, oh, this is the answer for that. And then rather than let Quinn try to implement it, I'll say, hey, Claude, try it like this. And then it's like, okay, it works, and now you move on. So there's definitely interesting ways around the limitations of whatever it is that you're doing, and you can kind of do it in a fun way.
Yeah. Your words reminded me the early days of using an iPhone with Siri, 2014-15 when it released. So you have to literally tell them again to fix that stuff. If you remember, like it was so new and we were having so much fun as kids back then. So it actually reminded me of that. So on to the last question of the evening or night or morning, wherever you are from. So what is the future for the Web3 development look like with low code, no code? My bad. Tom, please go ahead.
Sorry, wait, I think it cut off. So you were saying what the future of development with low code, no code. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can answer this very shortly. Again, I think it's a very fast moving future. So the next innovations that we come across surely will be in, as we've been talking about, in the security space, but also in the ease of education in terms of how this low code, no code AI systems will be integrated. And I think in the future, in the short future at least, we will see a lot of these AI agents fall off in terms of projects, because again, a lot of them are only using the narrative of AI to push their products and push their hype. So I think a lot of them will die off, and we will see a lot of advancements in terms of how developers are able to use these tools rather than being quote unquote replaced by them. And I think that will be, a way that we can also, stop this argument between like, AI removing jobs, jobs versus AI, this kind of thing. It'll be more about how can the AI improve the jobs, which it is already, again. And it will be more about how can the AI be trained to better the careers of the developers and to better the code which they're implementing. So yeah, like from us, from a consultancy standpoint, we're very interested to see how this develops, not only for ourselves in terms of like our workflow and organization, but also in terms of the products that we're seeing going into the market. Because at the moment, there's some really, really strong companies that are using these tools to their benefit. But then again, there are a lot of copycats that are unfortunately using the tech just to raise some quick capital and get out of the space. So, the long-term vision is what I think we're all on board for here as well.
Right. Then?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an evolutionary period, I think. So I think overall, and I don't want to scare anyone here, but I think the potential impact of this so far is being downplayed, just broadly, whether that's just by choice or just by not trying to freak everyone out. And I'll run a parallel with what I experienced before when, like I said, I worked in Hollywood in the entertainment industry, entertainment technology side of things. So I was a television editor, and I worked on a show for MTV, right? Flagship show. Turn on MTV at 8 o'clock when people used to actually, tune in to television at a particular time, and you would see the show that I was working on. So when I was working on that show, when I started, there were 12 episodes in a season. There were 6 editors. So you would, let's say I would edit episode number 1, and then by the time I finished that, I would start on episode number 7. Each editor had 2 assistant editors. So that was like, you just start to do the math of people.
Yeah.
By the time, let's say 4 years later, because of technology, by the time I edited my last show, there were 2 editors doing an entire 12 episode season, sharing 1 assistant editor. And that's just because of the technology that came in. So for example, you would get 300 hours of footage. So you would used to have 2 guys stay up all night cataloging all that. But now you've got, automatic voice translation, right? That can go voice to text. You've got GPS in the chips. So you could literally log where every shot was, time of day. You could have visual recognition. So you know who's in what scene. So the idea of, let's say, hey, I need to find this shot where it would take one person, all night to try to find a shot. Now you just type it in, right? At the same time, you'd have iPhones were coming out with YouTube. And then it's like, all the assistant editors were like, wait a minute, why do I want to work in a dungeon for you? I can just go out and shoot stuff. So the entire industry changes. That doesn't mean that there's people aren't employed and there aren't people doing that, but the way it's done is just completely different. So the idea of having, hundreds of people working on code, and you've seen, Facebook and Oracle is like, we might not hire engineers next year, which is kind of an insane thing to say. So it's not like the need for those people are going to go away, but the way of doing it is just going to completely change. The good thing, of course, is that chaos brings opportunity. So I'm curious to see what comes of it, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity that's being introduced with this technology.
Yeah. I remember there was a Marvel show with Nick Fury as lead. They shot the entire, opening sequence with AI itself. Did not use anything other than that. And that had an outrage across the Hollywood. Yeah, so that is how it is. Like, if you know how to use AI for the better, I think that is going to make your lives a little easier. Otherwise, with the rapid growth of technology, if we cannot keep up with the tech itself, then I think most of the things will become obsolete. But developers, I don't think they will be replaced, but good developers are irreplaceable. That is what I feel. Yeah, Abhishek?
Absolutely.
Yeah, same. Abhishek, your turn for the future of development with low-code, no-code.
So I'll predict my personal view and what I see for the next 2 years. I think it's a very good time for developers to build very robust and good game-changing no-code, low-code platform. So I think huge demand will be coming for the developers. So, but once those kind of platforms are there, which is very game-changing. Still, those platforms are there, but I think there is a huge opportunity with lots of models getting more and more refined. There is a huge opportunity for platform developers who can build really awesome platform. For example, if you want to have a very good UX UI, right now you still need lots of Figma things going on. So I think those things will come within 2 years. Then you need then your product manager just need to figure it out. Okay, these are the number of things we need in our products, and then great Figma file will be there. So those kind of things, I think still we have to see how people will develop. And after that, I think it's pure native language play.
So you are focused on native language play more than anything else when it comes to low-code, no-code or AI.
Yeah, right. I think after 2 years, we'll see people will be developing app things and basically sorting out their workflow to their native language itself. Because these models are mostly OpenAI and this kind of token-based models are independent of language. So use development ability. But before that, I think use opportunity for core developers to build a really good platform.
Noted. A nice take on that. Hardik?
Yes, so apart from helping developers and advancing Web3 technology, I think this low-code, no-code will also help connecting Web2 companies with Web3 as well, in the sense that two companies will be able to connect their products with utilities of Web3 and without much knowledge of developing in Web3 as well. So they can just use these low-code, no-code tools and then connect and add up Web3 in their Web2 product as well.
So the barrier between Web 2 and Web 3 will diminish a lot over the couple of years. Yeah. Ben, anything on that, or Tom, anything on that? Please, as we're ending it, I would like to have your take.
Yeah, I think that's the holy grail, right? Who's going to create the first low-code, no-code unicorn? So maybe it'll be someone on this call. That would be awesome. But I think that's what a lot of people are looking for.
Yeah. So that was it. I took 1 hour of all of your time, and I was happy that I did because we had some amazing conversation. And one more thing, this was my first time hosting an AMA. So I hope I asked all the questions right, and you people have been a great support. Tom, Ben, Hardik, Abhishek, and Fendi could not join for obvious reasons, the internet. So even if we're in with the internet still screws us. So that is one thing that will be common, I guess. And thank you all. Thank you guys for this.
Awesome. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Have a pleasant weekend, all of you. Yeah. We'll meet next time again. For sure.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. My dog has come and sat on me, so I'm not able to speak properly. So apologies for that as well. Good night, guys.
Is your dog named Broccoli?
No, not yet. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks, Hardik. And everyone who attended. Thank you. Have a great night.